I'm just going to say it. A lot of us hygienists are type A kind of perfectionists. Nothing's ever good enough. We got to keep trying. I had to step out of my own way and say, you know what? Yeah, it works. And I think it just may be ready to go to market.
I think that finding a solution to a problem is the core. If you have the necessity, the invention will follow. Your passion will drive you through into the business side of it.
For me, this is not about money, but it's about me sharing my message and trying to, help meet a need that I think is important. So that drives me to continue to push on, but definitely use your resources because that will help you get where you need to go.
Get ready for your unofficial dental hygiene podcast. These are the tales of two hygienists, one East Coast RDH and one West Coast hygienist. Listen as they tackle the profession of dental hygiene with humor and enthusiasm. Now, please join Michelle Strange and Andrew Johnston as they tell you a tale of two hygienists.
So Andrew, I'm so excited that we are finally putting this together. We've been talking about engaging with the students for a very long time now.
Yeah, it's been a long time, and it's about time that we started really giving them the focus that they deserve, right? They're the future of our profession.
They really are. And we're excited that PDT has sponsored this episode because they do believe in the students being the future of our profession. They're going to be our colleagues, right?
Mm-hmm. You've heard about it in the past. We've been talking about PDT for a long time. They believe very much in quality education, and they've been sponsoring our episodes for a long time now.
Yes. And we think all of these episodes are actually going to be really great, even for the veteran hygienist. We really wanted to make these episodes and these roundtables focusing on topics that students are going to either be presented with when they go into new offices, maybe things that are happening during their time as a student. But, how do they go and move from student to new grad to experienced RDH?
Yeah, so we're expecting to have episodes. Sometimes it'll be on instrumentation, how to adapt to certain angles, using an ultrasonic, maybe sharpening the instruments. And then other times we're going to talk about what types of offices that you're going to encounter, whether it's corporate, private practice, maybe a DSO. We'll talk about pay structures. There's just so much that's out there that you're right. Even the veteran hygienist is going to need to know these things as well.
And so we hope you enjoy this episode, and be sure to check out PDT, your Paradise Dental Technologies, because they have some of the greatest instruments.
Hey, Michelle.
Yeah?
It's time for the interview.
Oh, but I had something else to say.
We need to let the experts talk now.
Fine.
Welcome back, listeners, to a student roundtable. We are enjoying these student-focused sessions, and today we're looking at RDHs who became innovators and inventors. And so we're really excited to have this roundtable of panelists, and we're going to let them introduce themselves. We're going to start with Lee. Lee, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself.
I've been a hygienist for about 15 years, and prior to that, I was in aerospace engineering, kind of a varied background, but I moved into hygiene because that was what my heart led me to do.
Katie?
Hi, my name is Katie Melko. I have been a hygienist for 10 years. I primarily work in public health, and I'm also a clinical instructor at Goodwin College.
Awesome. And Debbie?
Hi, this is Deb Dencek, and I'm RDH for about 10 years. I'm in Arizona, and I've got some experience with corporate dentistry, private practice, public health. Tried to get as much experience in different facets of dental hygiene as I could. But most recently, I'm the inventor and creator of a product called CordEze, which is a line of products that help with ergonomics.
Well, welcome everyone, and thank you for coming on, because we're really excited to show the students that you can be a clinician, but you can also really think outside of the box, and if you build it, they will come in some way. So you each have started a new company or nonprofit before. What events led you to wanting to do this?
CordEze was born out of necessity. because I always migrate to the ultrasonic scaler. That was always my favorite tool, still is. But I, like many people, and I think still today, unfortunately, they're teaching how to manage cords with our hands. To me, that seemed real cumbersome, and it created extra weight on my hand. And I was like, man, if I had a dime for every time I had to readjust this cord, I wouldn't be doing hygiene, no offense. But, it just got, it was just a problem that I needed to solve for myself. I used the principles of fulcrum, and I said, well, if the cord's closest to the hand piece, but it's not actually being managed by the hand, that seemed to be the logical place for it. So I started with wristbands, started doing some prototypes for myself, and I'm like, hey, this works. And so I had to put one foot in front of the other. I started developing it, and I thought, well, if I like it and it helps me, that it might help everyone else too. So it was just purely out of necessity that CordEze was born.
All right, Katie?
So I started 12 Paws Publishing back in December, and I basically decided to go on this venture because working in public health, in school systems, or even in community health centers, I was finding that children were coming into the dentist petrified of getting their teeth cleaned. And just from all of the experience over the last 10 years, I decided to put all of those things into a book for children and parents as some way for kids and parents to prepare them for what they're about to walk into, hoping that it would kind of alleviate the fear and anxiety of going to the dentist for the first time. So it was basically just because I felt so bad that, kids were coming in and just, screaming, and just the fear of the unknown is what led to me to creating a book.
Lee?
I originally didn't set out to set up a company. I basically had a patient that was very difficult to work on, and born out of pure necessity, like Debbie mentioned, I created this dental instrument that is a high volume suction mirror. Yeah, I had a list of necessities that this instrument needed to be. And so after I was finished with that, it took many years, many prototypes, many adjustments. I call it push dirt with your face kind of thing. I ended up with this instrument, and then it was like, okay, so now my coworkers were begging me to have one. And so that's essentially how this all got started. It was like, okay, well, it works so excellent for me. Others are going to benefit from it, not only the clinicians, but the patients themselves. I'm a strong user of ultrasonics, and I just really needed that instrument, and I know others needed it too. So that is how this all started.
We always hear how hard it is to start a new company, and I'm sure you guys have had your fair share of some successes and some failures. And I'd love for you guys to talk a little bit about how that impacted your drive to continue on with the journey.
My drive is that the instrument works so well, there was no failure in this. My passion was to continue pushing on. I had only very few small technical failures, but that had to do with more the engineering side of it. Like I mentioned before, it was just pure necessity. This instrument works so well that was the fuel just to keep moving on.
Katie?
Definitely going down this journey, I had no idea anything about publishing or where to start. All of the details that go on behind the scenes of publishing any type of work. You're going to make mistakes, but just because you make a mistake doesn't necessarily mean that you failed. So for me, that I always had the outlook like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be successful at it, and what do I have to do to change those things? So for me, just having like a good inner circle to keep you motivated when you really just want to lay down and, give up, the passion behind the drive and people being there to support you and cheer you on when things get tough, that for me is definitely what helps impact my drive to succeed and change the outlook on things that I'm trying to fix.
Yeah, I'm like Lee and Katie. I don't believe that there are any failures, just lessons, especially when you're stepping outside and doing something that's never been done before or that you've never done before. So it's one of those things that if it's coming from your heart and these things, you just have to try different things. There's no guarantee that anything you do is going to work. So you just learn lessons as you go. But for me, I had to stop when it was done, and it sounds silly, but I kept changing my prototype, which is part of the process. This worked, it didn't work, or maybe I can tweak this portion of this, or making new versions of the same thing, or new products in general. But I was so hypercritical of myself during the process that I had a friend of mine, right when I got a really good working sample, and I was using it in clinic, and I was desperately trying to find something wrong with the wristband. I was getting scared because I thought, oh my gosh, I think I actually have something that's going to work. And then I called my friend, and she's like, okay, I want you to think about if you weren't the one designing this, if you weren't the inventor of this product, is it good enough? And I said, yes. And that was that, because I had to take myself out of the equation because, I'm just going to say it. A lot of us hygienists are type A kind of perfectionists. Nothing's ever good enough. We got to keep trying. I had to step out of my own way and say, you know what? Yeah, it works. And I think it just may be ready to go to market.
So each of your products are different. So I'm sure your starting place was a little bit different. But since these are students, do you have any suggestions on where a budding innovator could get started?
I get asked that question a lot at trade shows, and because I think hygienists, I've said this before, I think as a group, they're natural innovators and they're very creative people. So it's no surprise that when I'm at trade shows, I get people that come up and say, man, I got this idea. How'd you do it? But, I always say the first thing is, there's a lot of great ideas out there, but they don't necessarily make money. So if this is something that, you have to decide is it a hobby or is it a career path that you want to take? And if you're seriously thinking about making a career out of your business, then you have to find out first what problem you're solving, and then if there's a market for that, because, there's so many ideas out there and there's so many products out there that just don't succeed because there's nobody willing to buy them. So it's not as easy as, hey, this is a great idea and everybody loves it. It's another step and another layer to get to have people buy into your vision and buy your product.
That ain't the story of this podcast. More than a hobby now. It's more than a hobby.
Yeah, sometimes it takes a life of its own. You just don't know. You got to kind of go with it sometimes.
So true. Lee, you can go ahead.
I think that for starting out, if you're looking to make money off of something, that's maybe the wrong motive. I think that finding a solution to a problem is the core. If you have the necessity, the invention will follow. Your passion will drive you through into the business side of it. Though there are a lot of inventions out there that never make it to the market because they're just maybe too complicated. There may be manufacturing problems. There's a variety of issues that you'll run into as an innovator. You may be required to wear different hats. In my case, I had to become skilled at CAD drawing and CAM programming. I mean, just for instance, just to perform one function on my dental mirror to manufacture, there might be over 100,000 lines of code. So you better be ready to sit down and do this yourself, because nobody's going to really want to do that for you, or you're going to have to pay a lot of money to do this. It's the mother of invention is necessity. If the product serves a need and can work for other people, I think that's great. But don't look at the money part of that issue, because I don't believe that will ever prevail in the long run.
Katie?
So for me, like I said earlier, did not know anything about publishing or starting my own self-publishing business. So I went to social media. I found a Facebook group for people who are doing the same thing, bounce ideas off of each other. You will definitely run into people who are willing enough to mentor you or give you advice or share their experiences so you don't make the same mistakes. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos. I've talked to a lot of teachers and a lot of, people who either have children or work with children to make sure that what I was coming out with was something that was eye-catching and worthy of going through the production process, basically. So know your audience, use your connections to, it's going to be a long journey, but use what you have to help make it a little easier. So find people that are doing work that's like that. Get a place basically to vent and regroup and help keep you positive and keep pushing forward. Because for me, this is not about money, but it's about me sharing my message and trying to, help meet a need that I think is important. So that drives me to continue to push on, but definitely use your resources because that will help you get where you need to go.
I want to talk a little bit about the market. You guys all kind of touched on it a little bit. It seems with as many inventions and products that are out there, it'd be hard to get a singular item into the hands of the end user. And so I kind of want to talk about your thoughts on what are some of the obstacles that you encounter and how hard is it really to get your product all the way through from start to finish?
Well, for us, getting the market wasn't too complicated. As simply as you could look at it as simple as setting up a website, throwing your products on there, and away you go. As far as getting it into the hands of clinicians, being at trade shows was fairly easy for us. And I just absolutely love handing my product to a hygienist that has never seen my product. And you see the light bulb go off in their head. It's like, gee, and then most of the time they would say, why didn't I think of this? I needed this 10 years ago. And so the trade shows are a lot of fun, but they're a lot of work as well. As far as getting my product into other companies, I honestly, we don't go there. We have direct sales. We do direct sales. We cut out the middleman because we want to pass those savings, those costs off onto our customers. We don't want to drive. We don't want to ask double the price for this just to be able to put it into Patterson or some other vendor's hands like that. So we do direct sales. We do a lot of school sales, that type of thing. So we have built-in sales. They go to the students in schools. The students go out into the marketplace. They're working in different dental clinics, and so are basically a word of mouth. If you have a great product, word of mouth is the best.
I do direct sales on my website as well. That's one good way of getting people that know your product, have heard of it. They're going to go directly to your site to buy. But distributors are another option, and there are some really good companies to do business with that have, different amounts of market share depending on what your product is. You can probably look to certain distributors to help you market and sell and reach a lot more people, and depending on who your demographic is. So if you wanted to do schools, like Lee said, there might be one dealer that's better than the other that might specialize in that, if you will. There's trade shows, there's industry magazines. And if you have a working prototype, or if you have a working sample that you're already using, I would always highly recommend getting anything you do, patent it first before you bring it to market. Make sure you're protecting your idea. Once you have all that in place and you're ready to take it to the people that you want to sell to, again, looking at different options in terms of how to get there is one thing. And then also a lot of the industry magazines, if it's dental related, if you contact them, they will do like a product introduction for free, usually, if you contact them. Because our industry is still, there's a lot of room for improvement, but I think that's just across the board with every industry. But there are people looking for new innovative products, and people are out there to help you. get your product out there and make people aware of it. So utilizing all of those resources, I think, is a great idea. And then as you go, I think you kind of find out what works for your product and what isn't working. And you can always just reevaluate as you go and kind of adjust as you go. But there's lots of different resources. And I think Katie had brought up networking's huge. Connecting with the right people that believe in your vision, believe in your product. And, hygienists, we like to get advice and information from each other. So I think word of mouth has been and still is the best type of marketing there is. And then social media, if you are doing direct sales, or even if you're doing distributors or a combination of all like I do, getting your product known first is the first step, and social media is free and it's a great resource.
So for me, things are a little different because I'm putting out a book. So for me, I have done anything that I can to get on the local news, get in the paper, go to little boutique-y like places to do readings. Social media has been really big for me. I do direct sales on my website, but I basically had to brand myself and build a platform for my business and my books. And then once I've established that, it's about getting clientele and reaching the masses to share your message. So I'm always going to schools, trying to send emails or calling. I do a lot of groundwork. Like I do a lot of just cold stop-ins at schools or dental offices, libraries, those types of things. I do sell on Amazon as well, but I do recommend definitely trying to use the outlets that are available to you for you to share your voice. So whether it's you getting on a podcast or doing interviews for a magazine or newspaper, or if you can get on a TV show, like all of those things help spread your brand and give you a little bit more light than you can do. There's so many people, like you say, that innovate and create. So I think a lot of it has to do with your drive and how hard you're willing to work. And again, of course, networking and surrounding yourself with people who will support you and help share your message.
And just to build on this as like a slight digression, but if we're talking about the market, I think there's one thing about the back end on this side of innovation and trade shows when you're not that hygienist walking the floor for your free samples. I think there's a lot to learn and a lot to know about what goes into getting the product to that show floor or into a magazine. Is there anything that you would like to tell student hygienists when they are walking that floor and come up to your booth or come up to a booth of a product? One of my first things working the booth is how expensive it is, the thousands and thousands of dollars, and to not be flippant about taking samples and never using them would be my first thing. Anything to add?
Yeah, just, ask us questions. And, that's what we're there for. We want people to come up and we want to engage with you. There's a lot of ways for us to stick a picture in a magazine or something like that, or social media, to get our product out there. But the reason why we do trade shows is that we can connect with the people, the end user, the people that we think want to use our product. So it's really a win-win. We want to talk to you and we want your questions. And I think, I don't know, sometimes it's like, oh, don't give them my contact. They're looking at me, and they're doing the fast walk back by your booth. And there's not going to be high pressure sales. I mean, I guess I'm speaking for myself, but I don't really see the dental shows being a high pressure situation. We're not going to force you into buying anything or make you feel bad about not buying anything. But certainly, I welcome all the questions about my product and anything that would help them decide if that's something that would benefit them or not. So whether they buy it at that moment or ever is kind of beside the point, right? We're doing this for marketing purposes to get feedback and to demonstrate our product. So we love when people come up and engage.
I like it when students come up to the booth and ask questions. Most of the time they look at me as a salesman. They don't realize that I'm a working hygienist. I still work clinical hygiene. honestly, I do like hygiene. That's why I got into it in the first place. But they tend to look at me as a salesman, and then they kind of shut me down until I explain to them, talk to them for a little bit. And I say, wait a minute, I'm a hygienist too. And then they kind of look at me different. They realize, okay, I'm not just a salesman. I have a product here that's going to help them for career longevity. So I invite those questions from not only students, but from dentists as well. The one thing that I would like them to do is oftentimes they come up and ask for samples, and they don't realize that, well, with my product specifically, there's a great expense to this product. They come up and ask me for a free sample. I just kind of look at them like, are you serious? Are you serious? You want me to hand you, $500 or $1,000 worth of sample. It's just, no, you can come to our website at newbird.com and make a purchase. If you don't like it, send it back. We have almost nobody sending it back at that point. So be respectful about asking for samples. Sure, we may have a candy dish. Feel free to have a piece of candy, but, show a little respect there.
Yeah, for me, again, it's a little different, but I feel like people want to get to know you personally and learn about your product, but they might be a little bit fearful to come up and engage with you, especially students, because I think that they view us as being a little bit higher on the totem pole, so to speak, and it's intimidating for them to come up and just freely ask us questions. And I think a lot of students and even new hygienists don't realize that we like that. We like to engage. We like to teach and learn and spread the wealth of knowledge that we have. So for me with my books, like I use that experience. I also don't give away really anything for free, but, I use that experience to kind of share with them my inspiration and my message and let them know, like, this isn't just another book about going to the dentist. Like my book also talks about emotion and dealing with fear and working through your emotions to get to the other side of that, especially with how bullying is this day and age. I think it's really important for kids to realize that it's okay to be emotional as long as you work through it and come out, the other side feeling stronger or better or braver, whatever that may look like. So I use any connection I can get with talking to parents or kids just to share what I'm trying to, present to them. And then if they want to buy the book, they can, but at least I have the capabilities to share that. So that's what I try to do when I go to trade shows or book fairs.
I was just going to add on the trade show that these are developed to showcase new products. So when you're there, and for students and new grads, they're the most enthusiastic attendees at these events. And we remember going to our first one. It was amazing. It was so fun and everything was new. And, you just wanted to look at everything and hear about everything. And so the thing about the new innovation is sometimes the seasoned hygienists don't necessarily go to the newer booths right away. So the new grads and the students, don't be afraid of being the first one to introduce this into your office, even if there are seasoned hygienists that are there, because you might take CordEze back to your office and everybody's going to be super jealous and want to steal it. No, I'm totally kidding. They would never do that. But, they're like, hey, what's that? And then you can be the one. It's a good icebreaker. You might make a friend and just say, hey, this is what I found at the show, and turn them on to something new. Because like I said, a lot of times we get our favorite booths that we like to go to and we kind of get store blind to some of the new ones. So don't be afraid to be the first one to bring something new back home to your dental home.
Good point. All right. So who here has gotten a trademark or a patent on their product?
Yeah, I do. CordEze does. Yeah.
Okay. Can you just walk through the process real quick about getting one and the process of that?
Well, I'm sure it's different for most, but I got, you can do it yourself. I didn't. There are patent attorneys out there that's their specialty. So that's what I did. I recommend going to someone that specializes in that particular facet of law. But I'm sure you can, I don't even know, you probably do it online and file it online. The U.S. Patent Office has a website you can go to. I think over the years, I think patents originally did not start that complicated, and now it's very complicated in terms of paperwork. I do know someone that did do it on their own years ago, but that's just really going to depend on how much time and effort you want to invest in that particular portion of your business. I elected to get an attorney to do it for me, and so my involvement really was done prior to that, just hiring somebody and giving them all of the information that I have on my product and letting them do the hard paperwork. But I would say when you have an idea or you have a product that you want to patent, you really have to do some thoughtful, kind of go over not just what you have and what your vision is and what your product is going to look like, but you also want to think about the variance of that product and also protect all of those ideas. So there's quite a bit that goes into it, but if this is your vision and this is your product that you're putting out there, you definitely have to think about, is there different ways of making the same thing? And if so, protect all of that. And then communicate that to whoever's doing it, whether you're doing it yourself. If you're getting a lawyer, then make sure that that lawyer understands what you want to protect.
One of the first steps is trying to decide whether it's a trademark or copyright or a patent with whatever you're trying to do here. For me, it was a patent, and specifically, you need to look for patent lawyer that specializes in what it is that you have. For Debbie and I, it might be more in regards to like a utility patent. There's different levels and different areas of patents that are out there. So you really need to do some homework by going to the United States Patent Trademark Office, and they have a wealth of information there that can actually be kind of overwhelming. Trademarks, copyrights you can file those yourself. As far as filing for a utility patent, I think you might be hard-pressed at getting through that because the lawyers that work for the USPTO, they don't want to talk to the actual inventor themselves. So oftentimes the drawings and everything that is necessary to obtain that patent is going to have to be fed through a patent lawyer at some point. It is a costly, time-consuming process. It might take up to 2 years. In my case, my patent lawyer died in the middle of this process.
Oh, no.
And so I had to pick up the reins myself and write all the depositions for this, for my device. In the meantime, while I was searching for another patent lawyer to pick it up, so finally I prevailed in the process. So first, you just need to decide whether you're getting a trademark or copyright, or if you're going to get a patent on a device itself. And then what type of patent are you going to get for your device? In your claims for your device generally will cover all the variables of that type of device. So you can study a lot of information from the USPTO by looking at other patents of similar devices will give you a great framework for what it is that you'll eventually end up with.
Katie, is there anything similar in the publishing world?
Yeah, so I basically just filled out a couple pieces of paper on copyright.gov just to, copyright my children's book so that nobody else could steal my idea. But it was fairly simple, and it took about 2 months for me to hear back, and they mail you a certificate in the mail. It's very simple for that piece.
So you guys have already given a lot of great advice, but is there any final words of wisdom for any of these students that may want to follow in your footsteps, maybe not specifically for your products, but in this thinking outside the box, being an innovator, being an inventor, any words of wisdom for them?
I would just say, if you're really passionate about it, go for it. Follow your drive, follow your intuition. Don't let anybody stop you. There's going to be ups and downs, but if you really believe in it, you'll push through and make it work.
Yeah, I would say that's great advice. And also to be patient with yourself in the process, because it's going to take a lot longer and a lot more money than you think it's going to. Just be patient, and those times where things get a little rough, just realize that that is part of it and everybody's going to go through it. You know, it's the way you're going to look at that that's going to get you through those hard times. And it's those challenges, just like they did through hygiene school. You know, how many of us went, oh my God, I'm never going to make it. I'm never going to pass my boards. But you do, right? But you do. And so it's the same thing with business. You know, you're starting something new, and just be patient with yourself and try and enjoy the ride.
I agree with Katie and Debbie. There are many ups and downs, and it's a journey. It's a learning process. There are no how-to books on how to go from point A to point Z. You just have to believe in your product. For me, it was the experience with that product that I knew that it was successful. I didn't back down from it. I had many people say, no, don't do it. Don't go there. You won't succeed. You hear a lot of negative feedback, but then you do hear some positive feedback that really is encouraging along the way. It's definitely a learning process, and be patient with yourself. Like Debbie says, there'll be things that you didn't think about that come up in your way that you have to just address it one thing at a time to overcome those hurdles. And just know that if there was somebody else out there that has a patent, you certainly can do it too. If I can do it, and I believe that anybody that has perseverance can do it also.
You need that grit, that tenacity. Well, this was great. I loved learning about your journeys. And if anyone wants to reach out to you guys or learn more about your product, how and where can they do that?
We certainly have a lot of YouTube videos out there, but they can go directly to our website, which is www.newbirdhvesystems.com. And we have a wealth of information there on our website. Yeah, it's Newbird. That was our webmail, but our actual website is newbird.com. If you just type that in, it'll come up.
And that's NUBIRD, correct?
Yeah, NU-BIRD.com.
Perfect.
And for CordEze, we have a website as well. It's CordEze.com, CordEze.com. And for the students, if the students are interested in having their particular dental hygiene program implement CordEze into their clinic, they can email me at hello, HELLO, at CordEze.com, CordEze.com. And we can schedule an online demonstration for the staff and students if they want that. And we'll send samples out to the school so that the students can try. A lot of the educators right now, some of them are getting on board with CordEze, some of them still haven't used it. So it might take a minute for them to get comfortable so that they feel comfortable teaching it to their students. But that's what I'm here for. So contact me. We'll walk you through it. It's not incredibly complicated to use CordEze, but it does take a second for demonstration. And then there's student and school discounts available if they want to implement it into their program.
All right. So you can find us on pretty much any social media platform at 12 Paws Pub LLC, or you can go to our website, www.12pawspub.com.
Well, thank you guys for coming on, and we really appreciate you telling us about your journey and hopefully inspiring others and showing them that it's hard work, but it's not so scary.
Not at all. There's lots to do. And if it's in your heart, just bring it out. We all have our different gifts. So, you might look at us and say, oh, I wish I would have thought of that, but you have the next big idea. So do that.
Yeah, I agree.
Awesome.
Your gift will make a way for you there. So
thanks, Michelle and Andrew. Appreciate it.
Great advice. Thank you again. We hope you really enjoyed that roundtable, and be sure to check out PDT Dental. Head over to their website, Paradise Dental Technologies, and if you're on the show floor, going to trade shows, go see them. Check them out. They're great, great people.
And a special thank you to the guests that were on this episode. Feel free to reach out to them as well. They have a lot of good information for you, and they like to be contacted. So you'll see their information in the show notes.
And be sure to follow us on Instagram or Facebook. You're welcome to send us messages through either of those social media platforms. And you can send us a message at atale2hygienist@gmail.com. You can even email us directly, either Michelle@atale2hygienist.com or Andrew@atale2hygienist.com. And head over to our website and subscribe to our newsletter, atale2hygienist.com.
There's a theme going on there if you haven't been able to tell. And also, we're always looking for ideas for student roundtables. So if you're a student and you have a specific topic you want us to tackle, please reach out to us. Let us know.
We appreciate you for listening, and we hope you have a great week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, y'all.